Hi, how's it going? It's now a week after my birthday and Phoebe isn't here again. No, like, no disrespect to Phoebe. Phoebe is a busy girl. She's got a lot going on. It's also the day of releasing this podcast. Hi, welcome. We're definitely not behind on recording. We actually have a episode of the podcast that is kind of like a backup ready to go, but I kind of decided instead of doing that this week, I just wanted to record an episode and have Phoebe just listen and be like, hi, it's kind of like a letter to my best friend, but an audio one. Anyway, last week was my birthday. My name is Chloe. This is the podcast that I host with my best friend called Phoebe. And it's Explaterate because it's rambling nonsense for like an hour every week into your ears. Hi, Phoebe, if you're listening. You've heard most of this anyway, but I'm going to start this episode with a short public service announcement about spam. Everybody hates spam. You get it every now and then. You probably get like emails if you're around like our sort of age. I'm 31 now. Halfway in my life, and I get a lot of spam emails all the time. I don't really get that many like text messages or anything like that. I've had like the weird moments you get added to like a WhatsApp group and it's just wild and you end up just either completely blocking the number or reporting the number or whatever. But either way, spam emails is the thing that I normally receive, but spam phone calls and spam texts are something that possibly the older generation tend to get. And the reason that I'm kind of starting with spam this morning is because last week when I went away on holiday, I got a text message from my mum, and I whilst I was away, I was like sharing pictures and stuff. And don't worry, like I'll talk about the actual where we went and stuff soon, but I sent a picture of this waterfall to my mum, and my mum responded, what about your new phone? And I was like, that's not my new phone. That's a waterfall. I just kind of had a little giggle, was like, what? My mum's on one today. What's going on? And then we were in the middle of nowhere, so signal was sparse, and we got to a cafe maybe like 2 hours later. And I had missed calls upon missed calls, text messages. This is an emergency. Please pick up. Rung my mum back, and she was like, have you not got a new phone? It's like, what do you mean? I'm in the middle of like the Irish wilderness. What are you talking about a new phone for? And it turned out that in that morning she had a text message that said, hi mum, I've broken my phone. I'm borrowing my friend's phone right now to contact you. I need to borrow money to buy a phone from O2. Please send me £600 to this whatever bank account. And my mum, bless her heart, panicked. And also like between my mum and my nan, they live together and like look after each other respectively and stuff. And they panicked together and sent £600 without even thinking of contacting myself or ringing the number or ringing my partner. And they sent £600, and very thankfully, not thankfully, me and her had this discussion about 3 hours later. So it was very close to it, kind of thankful in a way that I sent this random picture of a waterfall. I didn't even say anything else. It had been like a week since I'd spoken to my mum. I just sent a picture in hopes that she would show my nan this waterfall that I'd come across because it reminded me of a trip I went with my granddad to Swallow Falls in Wales in the UK, and it was just a beautiful sight. And I was like, I'll share it to my mum. And then that was the one catalyst that like kind of set off this whole reaction of, oh my God, you've been scammed, because that obviously wasn't me. So long story short, Nan has her money back, so it's fine. However, this like kind of set off like a whole thing. Like I was saying to my mum about like, you know, Charlie and her mum have this like established password that they say together. Like if you've ever in a situation where you need to text and you can't call or talk and verify that you are the person, etc., they have like a secret phrase that they say to each other to establish that they are the person who is being contacted. And so me and my mom have like set that up now, and even my nan. But it was an interesting situation because after that happened, and in the heat of it as well, when we didn't know whether Nan was going to get her money back, Charlie started contacting her family as well to be like, hey, by the way, just so you know, like if you ever get a text message that says this about money or whatever, please try to ring me or try to contact Chloe or whatever. And her dad had actually received a similar message that literally said about the same thing. Hey, dad, it's me. I've broken my phone. I need to borrow money, etc. And in that instance, luckily, her dad was like in proximity to her mum, and they kind of spoke. And her mum was like, "No, I've literally just spoken to Charlie. It's fine. Don't worry about it." But yeah, like regardless of like whatever the situation is, just a gentle PSA to people listening that perhaps speak to your loved ones and make sure that they're aware that you would never just reach out on a random number and ask for money, because this seems to be a thing that's going around at the moment, at least in Ireland and the UK, and has actually caught out my mum. So we've also in the past, like unfortunately, we've had quite a few spam and scam things happen in our family, and it's one of those unfortunate things that has happened quite a few times. But like, if you ever want to educate yourself more with like spam calls and even just like fun little kind of get backs to spam stuff on YouTube, I could highly recommend watching stuff like Jim Browning, Scammer Payback, or Kitboga. In fact, actually, Kitboga, spelled Kitboga. So Kitboga makes like these fake web pages so that if there's a scam call that comes in of those people that are like, I need you to log into your bank, can you go to your PC and type in your passwords, etc., and they try to steal your information based on like being able to remotely access your computer. Kitboga is I guess programmer in a way that he can make like a virtual machine that he can see exactly what they do, and he streams it all on Twitch so that like everybody can kind of they have fun against the scammers, but at the same time it's like educational with like showing that this is the process that happens when someone scams you. But Kitboga had done a video where they used the password game. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the password game that kind of went viral across YouTube a couple of weeks ago, but we spoke about it on a previous podcast, on the Trolley Problem podcast, where we played the Neil.fun absurd trolley problem game. Neil actually was the person that created the password game. And Kitboga worked with Neil to make a version of the password game to catch scammers out. So it was a really cool video. It was a very fun premise where Kitboga had like the virtual machine of fake websites running where a scammer would remote access the PC and try to steal, like lock people out of their like bank accounts, like setting up their own passwords so that they could, steal money and stuff essentially. But because obviously it was all fake and they programmed it with Neil's password game, they set it up so that these scammers had to do the password game. And if you're not familiar, it's like set a password with a capital letter, set a password, add a special character, add Roman numerals that add up to 35, add Wordle answer of the day, add a month of the year, add the answer to this riddle, add the country that this is from GeoGuessr. It's a fantastically fun little game, just outside of like the scammer video and stuff. Go and play that game, Neil.fun. There's a bunch of stuff on there. It's very good. But it was a very entertaining video and just a way of like getting back to scammers. It's fun. But yeah, so that's just a little PSA about like spam, texts, calls, emails. be on your watch, everyone. The internet, as we have discovered and even proven how AI is at like the weakest point it's ever going to be right now, it's kind of going to get worse from now, I'd imagine. There's even been those calls of people duplicating voices and just faking who they are on calls, and elderly people don't tell, and if it's already at the point it is now, and like the basic Phoebe and Claude episode that we did is using like a basically free version of that software. If I had paid and taken the time to duplicate our voices, you can do that. Yeah, there's laws and what have you about how you use that function wise, but like that's not going to stop people. Let's be real. It's the internet and it's 2023. Come on. But I mean, look, anyway, speaking of like YouTube and my addiction to it, I have kind of realized, like, I mean, I just gave you 3 spam and scam centered ones there, but I have come to realize that I'm too heavily addicted, I think. And I think it became very apparent when one of my friends recently asked me for examples of YouTubers that do Five Nights at Freddy's content. And it was like within, I don't know, a minute of that message, I was like, well, I mean, you've got to be talking about Dorco, you've got to be talking about Markiplier, what about Game Theory and all the classics, and then like a new up and rising FNAF channel, which is like FUHNAFF. And I just kind of had this moment where I was like, oh no, am I like this weird dictionary of YouTube nonsense information in my brain? Like, hey, if you want a travel channel, what about Abroad in Japan or Tokidoki Traveler or Adam Hatton? If you want some like random knowledge that you didn't know you wanted, what about Answer in Progress or Coffeezilla or Anthony Padilla with a day in the life of? What about if you want bizarre commentary, but like things that you might find interesting? What about Eddie Burback or just the Burback channel, or Gabby Bell or Sam Witch if you want it in short digestible packages, or Sophia Nygaard if you want like an hour-long thing about Icelandic adventures, or how to make a Frankenstyle lipstick and merge everything together. If you want something just ridiculous to watch, how about How Ridiculous or Dude Perfect by the same extent, or even How To Basic? Or maybe you're into VTubers, so what about Vox or Rin Penrose or Ironmouse? Or maybe you want long-term video essays, what about June the King or Patrick CC? Or if you're really into maybe Drag Race and stuff, then what about Green Gay or Drag Detective? Or oh god, I think I am addicted. I mean, special shout out to like my current area that I like is things that are kind of mechanical or like fun making channels, like William Osman or Simone Yetch. I forgive me, I always pronounce that incorrectly. Colin Furze, just like the unhinged version of Mark Rober. Or if you take like those fun, creative, like assets and move it into gaming, then you've got like Rudism, or even with like Storytime, weird challenge YouTube gamers, then you've got like Point Crow and Doug, as we've mentioned before. Or if you want animation style story but gaming and challenge, then you've got Candy Evie. Oh god, my brain is just full of this useless information. Why do I just take too much content into my brain? This isn't right, is it? Anyway, it's my special interest, I guess. Anyway, listen. Last week, I went to Killarney. Now, if you don't know Killarney is kind of like the southwest Ireland. I think. I don't know the geography of Ireland too well. I live in the south of Ireland, in down Cork area. It's to the west of Cork, so I imagine it's like southwest of the whole country. Don't think it's all the way down. Here's my geography to the push now. I believe all the way southwest is like Kerry area. I think it was in County Kerry, technically. County Kerry is Killarney, but I think Kerry is more west and more south, possibly. Anyway, that's just a word to you if you don't know what it is. Killarney has the national park, and it is just an expansive area of just wilderness and protected Greenland, and it's just gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, stunning scenery where you can go on walks to your heart's content. You can get on like horses, you can do donkey rides around like the park area, carriages and stuff if you want, or you can even drive around it if you want. Like, it's huge. It's just this huge national park, and we went for about 3 days of just exploring around, averaged about 16,000 steps a day, which, you know, you heard me last week talk about how like I was close to doing like a 10,000 step day and was very proud of that. But like previously to that, I was doing maybe 2,000 to 4,000 a day at a push. So jumping to 16,000 steps a day, absolutely fantastic. I was on top of the world in my brain and in my feet, but it was just sights to behold in terms of the waterfall, like I mentioned earlier. I can't remember the name of it now. It's like track. I can't remember. It began with a T. A big sightseeing place. There was lots of people kind of gathered around. Like you would do this kind of hike halfway up this massive hill to see this waterfall, which must have been, in my head, I'm using like Charlie as a measurement because Charlie is pretty much spot on 6 foot. And I have to imagine it was probably about 10 or 12 Charlies tall. And it was just incredible. We tried to take some like little video footage so that we could make something as our like little memory mementos. I can't speak. Mimotos. Mementos. There we go. Got there in the end. We're making a little video for ourselves so that we can remember it in years to come. But it was an interesting adventure because we hadn't like pre-booked anything. Charlie had like booked the hotel out of like a surprise to me. Like I didn't know where we were going until the morning that we got in the car. And even when Charlie did the sat nav, and our sat nav doesn't tell us like where it's going, it's just giving me directions. So I was literally just driving in a direction and being like, okay, it's going to take roughly 2.5 hours. I'll see when we get there. And I mean, one thing was very funny to me. And those of you that may or may not be aware, I used to work for a company that used to run and organize Insomnia Gaming Festival. Now, if I have said that and you have suddenly clicked on to maybe where this is going, then hello, hi, how's it going? Have you recovered from multiplayer days? But I digress. Insomnia Ireland was a thing in Killarney in the INEC. And my wife to be had very kindly as well. Like she also wasn't aware. She had booked the hotel in the INEC. We turned up, and I remember I pulled in to the entrance of the thing, and I was like, "Huh, I recognize this." So, like me personally, I didn't go to Insomnia Island. I think I was working another event at the time, and I just couldn't be there. So it was one of the only Insomnia events that I never got to go to whilst I was working at the company. And I was like, "Huh, I recognize this building. That's weird. Why do I recognize this?" We went in, we checked in. The check-in staff were lovely. They were so kind. They were like, "Hey, you're on a floor that's adults only. There are no children to be seen in sight." And I was like, "Ah, beautiful." They were like, "Oh, if you want a jacuzzi, you can go down this hallway. You can have a jacuzzi, like not to yourself, but it's a nice jacuzzi. There is entertainment in the evening, but..." Like she took one look up and down and was like, "I do not think it'll be for you, but if you want to watch this, then you can by all means." It was great. And they had a cocktail lounge. Oh, sublime, incredible. Anyway, so we checked in, got our bags, and then I started walking down the hallway and I look up and I see the sign that says Killarney Convention Centre, INEC. my brain suddenly had this, like, it was almost like a PTSD flashback of like all of the events that I've done with multiplayer in the past, but all of the trailers that I used to oversee and half create. And my brain suddenly had this like vivid flashback to the Insomnia Island trailer that we made, and I remembered the building and all the shots that we got from the location and stuff. I was like, I think we got up to the room and I sat on the bed and I was like, my love, this is the convention center where Insomnia Island was. And she had like this moment of like, oh no. It was fine as well. Like I said, I'd never been to the event, so it's not like it was like a bad thing or anything. And it turns out it was a fucking lovely hotel, a fucking lovely area, fucking lovely venue. So I mean, gorgeous, but just so fucking funny that it was like this whole holiday was the idea of I've been working back to back near enough every day for a little while to kind of get ahead on a lot of work. And Charlie likewise has been very through it in terms of how much she's been working lately. And we were like both really looking forward to just getting away from everything and just switching off in the woods for 3 days and just disconnecting. And it was just hilarious that like we drove up, walked in, and I was like, oh, I did work here. My brain. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, the area was fantastic, and it was such an experience to, when I normally plan a holiday, we go into it with plans for everything. Like we've looked up the local area for food and such because Charlie is diabetic, but also she can't eat certain things like fibrous things, or we're both vegetarian, but also Charlie is the type of vegetarian that doesn't enjoy vegetables either. So it's like there's a very finite selection of things that we can eat, but also like to eat, you know? Like there's no point going on a holiday and then being like, well, I'm just going to have chips for 5 days on the trot. Like you got to have some sort of good sustenance, you know, you're on holiday. So it was a very rare situation that we were in, that we knew where we were going, or Charlie knew where we were going, but we didn't know what was around outside of the national park. So when we got there, it was like, okay, we'll set down everything and then we're going to explore. I don't do this. Like, you can't see me, but I am not the type of person that's like, cool, loosey-goosey, baby. Let's just go and walk around and see what the local area has to offer. But oh my God, I'm so glad we did. We went to a place, I can't remember the exact name of it. It was like Stone something. I think it was called Stone Baked. I'm not sure. But it was a pizza place, as the name would give away. And one of the most delicious pizzas I think I've ever had in my life. I had a cheese party pizza, and it was a blue cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, and I can't remember, Parmesan, I believe. It was just like a 4 cheese pizza, but blue cheese was like the main ingredient. And it was the most scrumptious, tantalizing thing to devour on the first day of getting there. And with sangria and Coke, because I am a basic bitch at times. But yeah, we had that. And whilst we were there, we started clocking some like other things within the area. There was like a cocktail slash can't think of how to describe it. It was a place called the Lanes and the Ross, or the Lanes at the Ross. It's very well hidden. If you ever find yourself like exploring in Killarney area, it is full to the brim with like tourist attraction, or like the way that the shops and things dress themselves up is very much like, come and eat here, come and dine here, come and have all the finest selection of things here. So it's very overwhelming seeing it all. And this place that we went to, the Lanes at the Ross, It was very well hidden. It was like down like a side alleyway. Like the only way we actually saw it from outside was this massive graffitied wall that was very tall, very beautifully designed, very colorful. And it just said the lanes across it with like a picture of like a cocktail glass and this like fantastic, just, I don't know, it's just like a fantastic, colorful, bright pinks and purples design on the side of the building. And we were like, oh, what's that? Went down the side of this like alleyway, and went inside, and it was just this really sweet cocktail bar lounge that had like your normal sort of food that you can imagine, but they're like sharing platters. They had like all this local cheese kind of plate to explore. And as we just said, I enjoyed the blue cheese earlier. So of course my taste buds were tingling, being like, oh, I'll explore some cheese. Why not? I'm glad at this point that my body was okay with this choice. But I was like, yeah, we'll have the cheese platter. Why not? Charlie doesn't eat solid cheese as well. Charlie likes melted cheese, so hence that she can enjoy pizza or like a cheese toasty, but not really a big fan of the cheese when it is in a solid condition. So this cheese platter arrived. In my brain, I was like, okay, well, like if we were having cocktails and a cheese platter, my brain's thinking, oh no, 10 squares of cheese, right? I've been to like a cheese tasting thing before. I went to Bruges many years ago for a birthday, and it was basically like a beer tasting and cheese tasting experience where you had more beer than you had cheese, but they had like these little maybe 1 inch by 1 inch cubes of cheese, that many different varieties, but very small amounts of cheese. This cheese platter in the lanes turned up. The cheese itself, if you imagine a A4 size piece of A5 slice of paper, A5 slice of paper in half, right? Those are the slabs of cheese. I would say probably about a centimeter thick for each one. And there were four different types of cheese, but each type of cheese had about 5 slices each. That is a lot of cheese. I put the plate down. There was all this cheese, some grapes, some, I think a marmalade. I'm not entirely sure what it was. I can't remember. I had quite a few cocktails at the same time. Listen, but this marmalade, this grapes, some honey, all local things, and my favorite cheese, a Dingle goat's cheese. So I think Dingle is an area local to in Killarney or nearby Killarney. I don't know. Again, forgive me, Ireland. I do not know your geography. Dingle goat's cheese was the best thing that I have discovered. I want more of this cheese. And I think I will probably get some at some point. We didn't unfortunately find anywhere that I could buy stuff, at least like within the time that we were visiting. I couldn't find it somewhere that I could easily buy it. Otherwise I would have just bought an entire shipment and brought it home with me. But Dingle's goat's cheese was my favorite thing. They had like this little slices of toasted French stick at the same time as the cheese platter, and Charlie had some onion rings and bread, whilst I just had this mountain of cheese that I slowly made my way through. I think like my brain was like, of course I shouldn't consume this amount of cheese at once, that's ridiculous, but I was just kind of like, I can't leave it to just sit there. And at this point, I hadn't even thought of the possibility of just asking if I could take it home. My brain just went, well, I've got to eat cheese. That's the only solution. I've just got to consume it all. So I went about consuming most, if not all, of the cheese on this plate. I think there was like blue cheese, a local cheddar, the Dingle goat's cheese, and one other that escapes my brain at the moment. But it was more of like quite a solid consistency. I can't think of the name for the life of me. I knew it all not too long ago, and I've forgotten. But yes, I I was cheesed out. I'd taken the cheese. The cheese was absolutely gone from me. Not even Richard Cheese could make me smile in this moment. Okay, I was done, and very very stinky at that. Moving on from the food, though, this place also specialized in cocktails. So the cocktails that they had some specialized ones, but we didn't quite like the sound of the specialized ones. I'm not much of like a cocktail drinker. I think in the past I'd only ever really tried like a strawberry daiquiri, which I think is like is it like Bacardi based or something? It's like strawberry liqueur Bacardi thing. It's like a weird slush. For me, it always tastes a bit like juice, which is why like I'm fine with it. I'm very odd in my taste of alcohol. Saying that like mostly my drink of choice is vodka, but like listen, I sometimes with cocktails, if there's like a really strong aftertaste of alcohol, then I don't enjoy it. And I think like if you ever remember, oh God, what were like the classics in Weatherspoons? They were like Sex on the Beach or whatever the blue weird looking one was. Those were what my friends were like obsessed with, and it just wasn't for me. I was like the Jaeger bomb and just vodka and Coke, boring person in the corner. Which at that time as well, and I used to order Jaeger bombs. There were some places that didn't know what I was talking about. I still remember either a Weatherspoons or somewhere I was like, hey, can I have a Jaeger bomb? They were like, sorry, you want a Jaeger, just a Jaeger shot? I was like, what? And the rest of it, please. Can I have the Jaeger, but then also a can of either Red Bull or Monster? And I remember there was one person that just on the counter just gave me a glass, a can of Monster, and then just the bottle of Jägermeister and a shot glass. And I was like, am I saying myself? What? Okay. I didn't think it was like that early on into like the discovery of a Jaeger bomb, but like, sure. But yeah. And then one of my most favorite places I ever had a Jaeger bomb, there was a pub in London. When I used to work within the games industry. We went to this place. It was an EGX party. I think it was either a Mad Catz party or something. We went to this party and then we all decided to go elsewhere for more drinks. And they gave me this Jaeger bomb, and it was an hourglass. So it wasn't very big. It was maybe like your average half pint glass, right? But shaped in this perfect hourglass shape, and the middle of it was no bigger than maybe 2 centimeters thickness. So it was like a very out and in and out shape. And the bottom of the glass, I think, was the Red Bull, or vice versa. The other side of it was the Jaeger, and it was just this perfect divide in a glass, and you just were supposed to take it as an entire shot. And that was insane. It was delicious, but it was also like, what is this presented to me? Like, I've only ever had like, here's your shot glass, here's the pint glass, do with it as you will. 9 times out of 10, I would just like mix them together because I'm not the weird monster that can do the shot and then drink. That's crazy to me. So enjoying this like weird hourglass thing was just very cool. There's a picture of it somewhere. I'll see if I can find it. It was very cool. Yes, anyway. So we were looking at the cocktails, and speaking of like doing the shots and the drinks that come with it. So one of Charlie's favorite drinks is a porn star martini, which I believe is vodka based. I've not really ever had porn star martinis besides with Charlie. To be honest, I always used to be like, well, what the fuck is it? Because like, why is it even called a porn star martini? Turns out, fun fact, apparently the creator of the drink, it was originally called something like the Maverick Martini, something like that. But then he was like, I want it to be sexy and playful, and I imagine that this is something that a porn star would drink, so just called it the porn star martini. And the fun thing that I love about this is that if you go to like maybe not a restaurant, you go to a restaurant and order the porn star martini. But to that point, the hotel that we were in, because it had a lot of kids in the main kind of area, the bar that we went into, they didn't call it a porn star martini. It was called the ballroom martini. It's like almost as if it's like just censored on the menu. It's like, you can't have a child reading porn star. What do you mean? So I just like the idea that it's like they have to name it something else. And I really want to know what it's called on like a Disney cruise line. Or just Disney. Like what do they call it? Like, this is Minnie's martini. I tried this porn star martini and it was sweet. It was nice. There was no like shocking taste of alcohol. They always give you like a shot of Prosecco to kind of, I think the idea is that again you would just have a shot and then drink it. And I remember every time that we ordered one, Charlie would just pour it in and then she'd be like, oh, I bet Phoebe would be so upset with how I drink this. So hi Phoebe. That's how we were drinking our porn star martinis. We were just mixing in the Prosecco into the drink and it was fucking great. Is it passion fruit? I'm thinking now. I think it's passion fruit. So that was delicious. We enjoyed that a lot. We had many a porn star martini. And then I had some strawberry daiquiris, but also something called a strawberry island twist, which I think was something like strawberry liqueur, elderflower liqueur, Prosecco or something. I don't know. It was something interesting, something different. And it seemed to be like a specialty that bar was serving at the time. It had a lot of crushed ice, and I'm a fan of crushed ice. It gave me about 5 brain freezes trying to drink it, but I realize I've just spent like probably about 10 minutes talking about alcohol. This is not the reason that we went on this trip. It was for the views and for the walk of nature. Whilst we were there, we ended up, I don't know whether anyone else ever does this, but we always like try to fantasize about the holidays that if money was never an issue, what holidays or things that you would love to go and do? What kind of like exploration excursions things would you like to do? Be it on cruises, be it on luxury getaways, all-inclusive packages, whatever. And I think like we were trying to plan out like 5 years worth of like, this is what we're going to do sort of thing. Like we've got our wedding next year in October. So we were like, okay, so we can do the honeymoon. We would do an all-inclusive by the beach for a whole week of nothing, just blue ocean with sunbathing and just books on a beach for an entire week, nothing else. Then after that, it was like, cool, we do one relaxing honeymoon. Then we do Disney World. We do the entire like the VIP package thing where you can go through all of like the underground tunnels, but do everything that you've ever dreamed of. You do like the VIP dinner. I can't even remember what it's called. It's like a club something. And you take like 10 people and you can go and have like this incredible secret dinner in a secret place, and you each got a waiter or something. Crazy stuff that like, why the fuck not? After like the Disney World break, we were like, we can go do a Royal Caribbean cruise. We have like a veranda, like where you sit on like a balcony and look out into the ocean. Go do, I think it was like a Europe one as well. So we can go like have a day in like all different locations in Greece or Spain or wherever. Then after that, it was like, okay, then maybe we'll do a Disney cruise line. We're quite a Disney. I say we're quite a Disney family. Charlie was the Disney kid, the Disney adult, and then it kind of it infected me, let's say, in the nicest way. It infected me, and now I have like this Disney bug that's just with me now. And that's not a bad thing either. Like, I love the Disney bug. It's got me thoroughly. But yeah, we can go do a Disney cruise. And then on the Disney cruise, we try and do it in a way that it's like an adults only. We spend a lot of time in like the rainforest room, I think it's called, on there. We watch a lot of Adam Hatton. If you like Disney things, go watch Disney Food Blog and Adam Hatton. You would not be disappointed. And also Jen is a new channel. I don't even know what Jen's channel actually is. I need to look it up and subscribe myself. But Jen is a character I'm thoroughly enjoying in Adam Hatton's current new series of Disney vacation stuff. Anyway, we fantasize that sort of thing. Just for us, it's fantasizing about holidays and like places we would go. Oh yeah, Tokyo. Tokyo is the other one. We would love to go to Japan. That's a big thing. Again, Tokyo, Disney Sea. But outside of that, just Japan in general. I would love to just explore Japan. Anyway. We fantasize about like holidays and like getaway locations, whereas like my dad, for example, fantasizes about the long-term plans of what he would do if he had money, if money was not an issue. It's kind of like the lottery winning stuff, right? My dad, when we spoke on my birthday, it was very sweet. I don't know, maybe we spoke about this last week, but I can't remember, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. I have quite a small little brain. The information goes in and immediately goes out quickly. But my dad fantasizes about winning the lottery and setting us up for life. So bless his heart, he was like, the first thing I would do is I would buy a lot of land, do a lot of like the grant research and like licensing and stuff. And I would build a donkey sanctuary, which is just adorable. And then he was like, I would give Charlie the whole thing. Like, give Charlie the whole sanctuary. She could hire people to do as she pleases, like whatever she pleases. But Charlie would own this donkey sanctuary, and my dad would be the just kind of like the name attached to it. Hopefully, not name it himself, because I could imagine the name would probably just be like Donkey Dick or something. But that's just my dad's humor. But he wants Charlie to like own a donkey sanctuary, and that's what he wants to do with his lottery winnings. And it was just like, you're just adorable, Papa. Why are you like this? And it kind of just got me thinking about, yet again, another YouTube fixation I've got, but Alveus Sanctuary in Mayahiga. I think we definitely spoke about this last week, because this was where I said about my friend Phil. Thank you, Phil, yet again. But Phil, for my birthday, has donated money to Alveus Sanctuary in exchange for a t-shirt for me, which was very, very kind of him. But again, like, to kind of speak a little bit more about Alveus and like Maya. Maya is one of the top female streamers on Twitch. And I think it was like 2020 did like a fundraising campaign, raised like $500,000 or something, and set up a sanctuary in Texas, which is kind of like a virtual education center. Like, they stream everything on Twitch. It's a center where they focus on like non-releasable exotic animals. They educate people for just random stuff, either on like pet trades or like the meat industry and like just environmental things. It's a very amazing conservation center, and I say recently came across it. It was more, I think, in the last year I've come across it through various channels like Ludwig and Cutie Cinderella and Point Crow. And it just seemed to be that Maya is kind of the closest thing in my head is like how Charlie would love to see the world. Like if Charlie, like in that lottery situation, that donkey sanctuary, it's like I could imagine that this is Charlie's future. Um and like Alveus's like goal is to just inspire online audiences across the world to get involved with conservation. This I'm reading this literally from their website as well, so I can make sure that I quote it correctly. But we hope to create more awareness for the diverse planet we live on and to encourage people to take action to protect it, with every individual being able to make a difference, because we can. Everyone can make a difference. But yeah, so again, thank you very much, Phil, for that. But yeah, when my dad was telling me about this dream of his, it was just very like, oh, I imagine this for Charlie. I can imagine this being her life and just wanting that for her. And now that's kind of something I just want to work towards. No way in hell we're going to be able to open up like a full functioning sanctuary or whatever, but maybe in our later lives we can own a little farm where we can take in animals that perhaps can't be released or used or have grim lives ahead of them, and maybe we can make a bit of a difference to them. Anyway, kind of rambling on here with my holiday talk and what have you, but we went to Killarney. It was very fun. And on return of Killarney, Charlie had one more birthday surprise in store. I say birthday surprise. We collectively did this and it has ruined our lives. And hence why I'm now recording a podcast at 1 o'clock that will be released at 5 o'clock in a couple of hours. So we have been heavily addicted to Baulders Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game made in collaboration with Wizards of the Coast and D&D. It is a RPG fantasy adventure, ergo like Dragon Age, but with D&D elements. And I am fixated. Don't worry, this will be completely spoiler-free. I will not say anything about the story of the game. What I will say is that upon returning from our holiday, which was Thursday, I believe, something like that. So we've had Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess, and Thursday itself in part. I have racked up 55 hours of playtime. That is a feat. That is an incredible amount of time for me to play a game, especially like I find it hard to just sit down and play a game. My brain struggles on like what to pick up and focus on at the best of time, even just maintaining one sentence and not getting distracted halfway through. Hence Explaterate is just a stream of consciousness and just ramblings, because that's what my brain can do. But Baldur's Gate hooked me in some way that I've not felt ever since I played Dragon Age Origins, which would have been probably when I was 18 or 19 years old. I started working at Game Digital in the UK in retail, and in the, I think it was actually not even when I started working there, maybe it was the interview I had with the store owner at the time. He was very big into D&D, and he was just like, hey, if you like that kind of thing, like perhaps you would be interested in playing Dragon Age. And at that time, I think both so Dragon Age Origins, the Awakenings DLC stuff, and Dragon Age 2 was out at the time. So I fully was like, you know what? A, I want to impress this guy so that I can maybe work in Game Digital at some point in my life. And B, I am very much intrigued by what this game has to offer. So I bought all of them. I went home and I stayed playing Dragon Age Origins for about 4 days, just playing. I had like my job that I used to do in the mornings for 3 hours of the day, and then I would come home and just play Dragon Age. I fell in love. I fell in love with the characters, the universe, everything about it was just it was like something was just petting my brain inside my skull. Like, yes, I'm very happy with this situation. Morrigan is still one of my earliest loves within video games. And yeah, just a great experience. And Baldur's Gate is giving me that same itch right now. I mean, the fact that I'm on 55 hours playtime is something to behold. I'm even going to open Steam in the background because I think it's one of my, if not most played games ever. I think it's up there. Maybe I'm in like the top 10. I know like the top game I know is GTFO, which I fucking love GTFO. I wish I could get back to playing that soon. But I believe 55 hours. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, especially with like how much like there is in terms of games in general, but like my playtime is more on console, I would say. Like if I could actually look up how much I've got on something like Gears of War 2, I hate to think, because I used to play that online. Compared to like just doing the story, that's something that I would enjoy for hours and hours on end. I think I got like my wings in Gears of War 2, so they're like reaching a level 100 in multiplayer and stuff. So a lot of my actual like hours of playing games are more on console than it is on Steam. But like, yeah, so like if I look at now, I've got like the list. So like my most played game is GTFO with 158. Gary's mod closely behind with 137. Gary's mod I used to actually stream. It was one of the first things that made me start doing like YouTube and Twitch stuff back in the day, and where I met a lot of people within my life, and how I ended up kind of, I guess, like the catalyst of what got me into the video games industry in general, because it was what gave me the opportunity / the confidence to go after a job within machinima or machinima. And then, yeah, after that is Don't Starve Together with 100 solid hours. Fall Guys is on there, 84 hours. Phantom Abyss was 65. Elden Ring was 64. Cyberpunk with 56, and then Baldur's Gate with 55. Baldur's Gate has now taken over Project Zomboid, which we played a lot of during lockdown, 53 hours, and has even taken over Inscription and Divinity of Original Sin 2. Actually, Divinity, I was going to say, is another thing. So, like, the best way to explain Baldur's Gate, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of Divinity and Dragon Age had a baby with Dungeons and Dragons. It's just very fun. It's story rich. It's all your choices have consequences. There is friendship and betrayal, and just the lure of power. There you go. That's what Steam says, and I agree with that. It's just great. A great escapism game. I've not felt that hook in a long time, and I'm going to wrap this up so that I can go and play more of it. I wanted to become one of my top played games of the year. I had a goal this year that I wanted to complete many, many games. And hey, I've already completed Elden Ring this year. I've completed Rhythm Heaven Fever this year. I want Baldur's Gate 3 to become one of the other games that I complete this year. And then perhaps maybe I'll get back to Cult of the Lamb and Tears of the Kingdom. Oh yeah, I also completed Breath of the Wild this year. That's it. But Baldur's Gate 3 has really got its teeth in. I got some work to do this week, and then next week I'm just going to solidly play for another 6 or 7 days back to back of Baldur's Gate. So yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for listening to Explaterate. I'm sorry that this week is just myself. I hope that it's been okay and not boring anyway, but I know Phoebe's really good at remembering all the social shout out stuff. But hey, we're a podcast. If you got this far and we're in week 9, I hope that you've enjoyed and just like listening to us. I really enjoyed doing this. I think it's very nice. It's a great way for me to get my like brain thoughts out there, brain dump, if you will. Fun fact, brain dump is what I originally wanted to call this podcast with Phoebe, and then I think it was like the day after I asked Phoebe whether she wanted to do a podcast with me, Jacksepticeye and Ethan Nestor released a podcast called Brain Leak, and I was like, oh well fuck, I can't have it called Brain Dump. They're just gonna think that I came up with this idea because Sean's doing it. So it became Explaterate. Hi Phoebe, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me just basically binge about YouTube, cocktails, Alveus, holidays, and Baulders Gate. So I can't wait to speak to you next week. And look after yourselves, everyone. Make sure that nobody gets scammed, and take it easy, my breezy. Goodbye.